Are digital worlds making us less human? How can we honor human development while raising kids up in a digital world? Welcome to Homeschool Yourself. I'm your host, Delina. Two things I wish about in my homeschooling years. I wish I would have had a community of like-minded homeschooling families, and I wish I would have waited longer for my kids to get their phones. Now, my children would probably disagree, but I think the worst thing I ever did as a parent was get them phones when they were in middle school. Seriously, digital literacy is so important, and media seems to come at you faster than you can teach lessons about how to handle all of the messages. My favorite topic in college was learning about media messaging and media ethics. And though I tried to incorporate some of that in my homeschool, it was haphazard at best. I didn't know about my guest, and I didn't know about her book, and I didn't know about her curriculum called Cyber Civics. I hadn't read her book, Raising Humans in a Digital World, and this book is so amazing. It distills everything that we learn about human development and behavior, and it helps parents to apply it to their child's digital life. In this episode, I'm talking to Diana Graber, who wrote the book, Raising Humans in a Digital World. I think you'll find it helpful. Take a listen. Hi, welcome, Diana, to Woke Homeschooling's podcast, Homeschool Yourself. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm Diana Graber. I'm the author of Raising Humans in a Digital World, helping kids build a healthy relationship with technology, and also the founder of a curriculum called Cyber Civics, which I'm sure we'll talk about, and a site for parents called CyberWise, which is full of resources to help parents of digital kids.
Beautiful. I wanted to talk to you because I love your book. Your
Well,
book
thank you.
is completely it's so full of information. We're only going to talk about a couple of things about the book, but I definitely want to ask our listeners to check your book out, Raising Humans in a Digital World. So the reason I wanted to talk to you is because I think your approach resonates a lot with homeschooling parents in particular, because we're really invested in our child's development as a whole person. Not that other parents aren't, but
Yeah.
we just have really, part of the homeschooling thing is to say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be intentional about this. So we recognize this desire, and I really appreciate your approach because you get outside of the usual questions about um, digital media. Um, you get outside of the questions about devices like, um, you know, how much time should my child spend online, or when is it an appropriate age to give them a connected device, or how can I control my teen social media use? You get outside of that, you step back and you say, well, what are we really after? Like, how do we raise a whole human? So can you talk to me about what you mean when you say like what it means to be human?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for the kind words about the book. And I'm going to back up just a little bit
Yeah.
because I laughed when you said it resonates with homeschoolers because the program was actually founded at a public charter Waldorf school that my children attended. And we always joked that the school was homeschooling for lazy people because we were very involved, but we didn't do the actual teaching. So
Yeah.
that's where it found its roots. And today, even though our curriculum is sold primarily to schools, we have a ton of homeschoolers that subscribe to it because it really speaks to them, I think, because of those roots. So, and we are very focused and intentional about looking at the whole child. And so the curriculum is very developmentally oriented. We meet kids where they are, and all of the skills that we're teaching them hopefully apply online and offline because it's not
Yes.
really about the tools, it's about how you treat the tools and how you treat each other.
I love that. I love that. So how do you why did you approach it that way?
Well, it's really because of my training. About, gosh, 15 years ago now, I went back to school and got a master's in media psychology and social change. A lot of developmental psychology was woven into the program. And so when learning about digital devices and developmental psychology, I thought, gosh, you know, we're doing this all wrong. Like, instead of like teaching the kids, don't do this, don't do that, we need to see where they are developmentally and what their what they like to do at that age. Here's an example. So we're teaching a lot of really young kids, don't cyberbully, don't be mean, blah, blah, blah. And the thing is, kids do not develop the ability to engage in ethical thinking until they're about 12 or 13 years of life. So they can't understand what someone else is feeling. They can't fully understand the implications of what they do. So you can't really have them think through the consequences of their online actions until they're old enough to get there. So you're teaching black and white thinking to the younger kids and more ethical thinking to the older kids. So that's a really long-winded way of
No,
saying that we have to meet kids where they are when it comes to the digital world. It's very complex.
I love that. I wanted to talk to you about two topics in particular. And one of those things is ethical thinking and empathy. So, talk to me more about the stages of children's moral development.
Oh boy, I love this. I wish I could remember as much as I knew 10 years ago, but basically, when kids are very young, everything is about seeing the world through their own lens. And they don't understand, they can't put somebody in their self into somebody else's shoes. So it's really hard for them to be empathetic in that manner. That's a
Mm-hmm.
really important thing when it comes to digital technologies. So when they approach that 12 to 13-year age range, they start being able to do abstract thinking, which is, thinking about the consequences of their actions, what someone else might be feeling. And that's a prerequisite for ethical thinking. What's really
Okay.
interesting is that if you do the research, there's some people never reach that higher realm of
Yeah.
thinking. Go online and you'll
I
have
know.
great examples, right? So, but that's what we want our kids to achieve, is to be able to be an ethical thinker and to be kind and thoughtful about the things they do and say.
I love that because that is part of being human, right?
Right.
So, I love this quote that you have in your book. While technology has altered the world, it hasn't altered the time it takes a child's brain to develop the ability to use technology well.
So true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Um,
stand by those words today because it kills me when I read articles about kids that are on social media networks and they're not 13 yet, so they've lied about their age. And they've been cyberbullied. In some cases, they've killed themselves because of things they've done or seen online. And I'm thinking, if we did one simple thing as parents and we held off social media or any connected devices until the child's brain was ready for it,
mm,
it would solve 99% of our problems.
wow. Wow. So, what do you think are some of the ways that technology short circuits this quest to be human? Like, what does it
Well, I mean,
do?
that's a great, I'm going to turn that around a little bit because
Hmm.
I think it can augment it too. I think that if we learn the time and place to use our devices to connect with each other, and the time and place not to need a device to do that.
Mm,
And I think of that in terms of our lessons. And I was just going through the lessons yesterday and I was reminded by one that I really love. It's our lesson about email etiquette. And the activity in that lesson is we say, okay, just think of instances in which it would be better to text than to call, or think of
mm.
instances that would be better to be face to face rather than text, and have the children think of all the different ways there are to communicate and what kind of things are appropriate to each method. And so I think that's the way we need to look at it now, because connected devices are such a part of our life. They serve a time and purpose, but in some places they get in the way, and we need to help our kids discover what those places are.
Oh wow, I love that. You write that from all the experts you talked to for your book, most of them said that if they could equip kids with one digital superpower, it would be empathy. Will you talk to me about that?
Yeah. I mean, gosh, so much of what we see online and so many of the problems, especially between teens, I think, is just a problem of not really thinking through how the other person is feeling
Mm-hmm.
from what you say or do, whether it's just simple digital drama or an unkind comment or a picture that might be hurtful. If we start to have, and kids are generally pretty empathetic in the real world. That's why I love to do activities related to digital media education in the real world first, because they start to see the consequences of their actions. They see how a mean comment hurts somebody by the expression on the face. So developing that empathetic muscle, I think
Mm.
offline is really important before kids go online, so that they might think twice how something might feel to the person on the other end of the screen.
That's interesting. So because they're interacting online and they don't see or feel that other person, it's hard for them to put themselves in another person's shoes.
Right. And I
So,
think something that teens love to do is sarcasm. Sarcasm's
yeah,
fun. And in the real world, we use it and we laugh. We know we're being sarcastic. That just does not read well online. And there's been so many, problems that have emanated from that. And so that goes hand in hand with empathy to think about, gosh, how might that read,
yeah.
in a
I wonder if
text?
that's why they developed emojis
Exactly. That
to
is why.
help
Yeah. Yeah. There
to
was a
help with
great
that.
study about emojis and how it's impossible to create enough emojis to replicate what the human face can do.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow. Yeah.
That we can relate so much more with our own human face than an emoji ever could.
How do you think we can help our child's capacity for empathy? How can
Well, I
we?
think, oh gosh, I mean, there's so many ways. That's a face to face human thing that you just have to practice. I mean, from the minute a child's in a sandbox and they take their friend's toy and the friend starts crying,
Yeah.
that's a lesson in empathy, right? So
Right.
think about that. A 5-year-old, 4-year-olds are spending times in front of a screen when they should be spending times in the sandbox watching that interaction happen. So all of those human face to face things that kids used to do, they should keep doing those as much as possible, as often as possible, because that's what's building empathy and a lot more of these human traits that we want our kids to have before they go online.
So you encourage parents to develop these things before they go online, but when is it ever before? In the womb?
Yeah,
So
these days, pretty much, right?
I know.
And I think, that brings us to the point that, I know it's really hard for parents of infants and young children because we're busy and there's time and all that. But as much as possible to remember that the skills kids need most are face to face, being read to, talked to, played with. All of those basic skills builds a strong foundation of being a human, and those skills will become so important when the child finally does go online. So as much as you can build that into the day, it will pay off later.
Yeah. And as homeschooling parents know, there's definitely enough hours in the day to do all of it.
Yeah.
Those days get long. Okay, so how do you advise parents to teach media literacy skills to their children, homeschooling or not?
Yeah. So that's a tough one because, and I like to call it digital literacy because
Hmm.
we kind of think it's built of a lot of different things. We break it down to digital citizenship, information literacy, and media literacy. And honestly, it's a little bit hard for parents to teach these skills themselves because there's so many, you
Hmm.
know. And that's why we developed a curriculum to make it super easy for parents to know what to teach. Um, so what the best thing a parent can do is model wise use of technology. And what I mean by that is, be mindful about when you pick up the device, what you use it for. With a young child, if you do have to look at your cell phone, say, I'm using my cell phone to call grandma. Do you want to do it with me? Or I'm using cell phone to look up a recipe that we're going to cook together at dinner. So modeling, explaining, all of that is teaching media or digital literacy.
Okay. What tell me more about the curriculum and how a parent can use it at home.
So, so this is exactly why we developed the curriculum, and just as a little backstory. So, when my kids were attending this homeschool for lazy parents, I had just finished my program, and there was a little cyberbullying incident, which really wasn't cyberbullying; it was digital drama. But it just like blew everything up. Like parents are like, "Oh my gosh, there's gonna be more of this. Feelings are hurt. What do we do? What's Facebook? All of this." So, I was able to use what I had learned in my program to start teaching these lessons to kids. So we started out with the year of digital citizenship in 6th grade, which is the safe and responsible use of digital tools. And it was really powerful. When we finished that first year, we realized, okay, we've taught the kids how to be safe, but that is just drop in the bucket. There's so much
Hmm.
more they need to know. So we added on another year of information literacy, which is knowing how to find, analyze, use, and retrieve, or something like that, information online. So it's basically about how to use Google now that we have ChatGPT, how to use that ethically and safely, how to, maintain your privacy, basically how to use the internet to learn, to research. And then the final year that we added was media literacy, and that's using critical thinking skills to analyze media messages. So that includes everything from visual literacy to misinformation to deep fakes, etc. So that's our middle school curriculum. It's really comprehensive. There's a lesson a week, throughout the entirety of middle school. And then people were saying, well, what do you do for fourth and fifth grade? Because kids are going online so young. And so
Mhm.
we maintain that kids should wait until 12 or 13 before they, join social media. But we decided to do lessons for the younger kids that are based on values. And I really love it. And it's so great for homeschoolers because it's basically turnkey. There's a video and then there's a little activity. But basically, we cover all the values, kindness, honesty, responsibility, self discipline, and we talk about what does the value look like in the real world. Now, what does it look like online? And so we go through all of those, and then there's just basic lessons on how to search work. What is the internet? How do you stay safe? How do you make a good password? Just basic things that a younger child might need to know. So it's really, I think we're like up to 140 lessons now, but
Oh,
it's
wow.
a
I
lot.
love that. I love that because so many of them have grown up with this just being part of their life. Um, you don't usually teach kids like what is water? It's
Exactly.
just water.
And
But
there's a great, the great media theorist Marshall McLuhan way back when said, at first, all new technology shakes up our world, and then it becomes invisible. And
exactly.
I think that's so true. But before it becomes invisible, we should really take a hard look at it and
Yes.
see what we like about it and what we don't like about it. And it's perfectly applicable to AI right now. AI is going to be invisible really quick if it's
Hmm.
not. And kids right now should be taking a good hard look at it to see what it is they like and what they don't like and how it works and all of that.
Yes, and that ties in perfectly to your notion of becoming human because it's more important to be human now that
I know.
AI can do everything else that
Yeah,
we.
exactly. So this we have a lot of what we call AI literacy lessons woven into the curriculum now.
Oh, you do. You do. What kind of conversations do you think that are important to have with teens
Oh
about
boy, about what? About
about
just everything.
digital life? Yes.
I mean, how long do you have?
I know.
I mean, we try to do this right as they enter teenagehood because there's so much. I'm going to bore you right now, but they should know about their digital reputation, about cyberbullying, digital drama, sexting, sextortion, revenge porn, misinformation, disinformation, fake news, deep fakes, visual literacy, stereotypes, um, privacy, personal information, filter bubbles.
So much.
I mean, I'll go on for another hour if you like, but
No.
that's what I mean. There's a lot there, and that's why it's hard for a parent to know what to cover. And so we try to piece these together in a way that's really developmentally appropriate and builds upon skills. So, for example, we start out very simply like, what does it mean to be a citizen?
Hmm.
What does that mean in the online world? Well, when you're a citizen, what does your online presence look like, and what is your digital reputation? And then building until you finally get to the really tough stuff.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's
I
a
feel
lot.
like you need to do some lessons for adults.
Yeah. Well, what's nice about the curriculum is
Hmm.
with every lesson, there's a home activity that parent and child can do together. So we call that the trickle-up theory, so that the parents actually, by teaching this curriculum, they will learn so much.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Now, we see many adults being swayed by misinformation and being ugly to each other online, like you mentioned before, or choosing phones over the people around them. How do you, as an adult and as a parent, homeschool yourself and continue to stay human in a digital world?
It's getting harder and harder, isn't it? I mean, that's such a good question. I think more face-to-face time, more human connection, all of that. We need more walk away from the devices, take breaks. It's pretty toxic out there.
Yeah.
Be really mindful of what you decide to look at, especially be mindful of what you like and share.
Mm.
That's like a vote. you know,
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to amplify misinformation or bad information or mean things, and that's the problem with, I think, social media is that, as humans, we're primed to react to things that are inflammatory,
Yes.
and we have to know that and stop ourselves. Don't just read a headline. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, headlines are made to bait you and get you incited. That's what they're designed to do, to sell advertising. So, do what we teach the kids to do. Read the article, open a second tab on your browser, look up the author. Is
Mm-hmm.
this like a real, expert, or is it just some, person somewhere
Yeah.
tweeting, texting something they think? Number one. Number two, look at their sources. Like, if someone's saying things, find out where they got their information. Is it a verifiable source?
Yes.
And then third, see what other people are saying about the information. See if that information is being debunked somewhere else. So it's a lot of work.
It
I
takes
mean,
work. Yep.
it's work, but it's such important work because, I mean, misinformation, disinformation is so rampant. We've got to, it's up to us to stop it. There's nothing else that's going to stop it.
An outage.
Mm-hmm. And now
An
it
internet outage.
is.
Um.
Careful
So
with fish.
the three things that you just mentioned, are those related to that crap acronym that you have in your
You know
book?
what? The CRAP acronym, which I thought was wonderful, that's
Yes.
sort of been put out to pasture.
Oh, has it?
And it's been replaced by some wonderful research that was done by the Stanford History Education Group. And the three things that I just described to you is
Okay.
the way that real fact checkers, at reputable organizations, that's how they check information. And so that's now what we're teaching kids to do.
Okay. Perfect. So, how can people connect with you and maybe get a sample lesson for their digital literacy lessons at home?
Oh boy. I mean, they're welcome to look at the website at cybercivics.com. They're welcome to email us, support@cybercivics.com, or call us. There's a phone number on the website. But I did want to say we offer a pretty great special for homeschoolers.
Oh,
It's a significant discount, and it's like a 3-year license so they can get through the entirety of the curriculum. So, and they'll find it on the website. We have a
okay.
little page just for homeschoolers. So,
I love
and
that.
and it's the same curriculum that schools use, but there's a guide in there that tells homeschoolers how to adapt it for one up to 10 kids. And the way the license works, it's for up to 10 kids because we know a lot
Okay.
of times families teach their children together.
Yes. I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
And truly, it's been delightful to talk to you. I hope everyone picks up your book. Thank you for joining us on Homeschool Yourself.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love the advice Diana gave to take stock in our own digital consumption in order to stay human and model this for our kids. Most of us grew up in a less mediated environment. We know what it's like to be human and the importance of in person connection. Let's not let devices strip us of our humanity in fundamental ways. I'm encouraged to be more deliberate and more intentional about putting people over devices and building in some intentional connection in my home. I would love to hear what nuggets you got from this conversation that I had with Diana. Would you email me? My email is podcast@wokehomeschooling.com. Until next time, put the phone down and go homeschool yourself with a book.
Homeschool Yourself is a production of Woke Homeschooling, Inc. For show notes and links to things mentioned in the episode, visit wokehomeschooling.com/podcast. Woke Homeschooling empowers parents to teach their kids an inclusive, truthful history. We invite you to visit our website and download a sample of the history curriculum we offer for kids. Visit us at wokehomeschooling.com.